On October 14, 2015, TalkTalk CEO Dido Harding received an urgent phone call from her head of security. A massive cyber attack had just struck the company. A few hours later, Harding received an email from a mysterious hacker who demanded 500 Bitcoin in exchange for not releasing bank details and credit card information of thousands of TalkTalk customers. TalkTalk's entire database had been breached, and the personal and banking information of over 4 million customers across the United Kingdom was now in the hands of the hacker. With the company and customers at risk, Harding scrambled to figure out how to handle the situation.
To give you very much details, but yes, we have been contacted by, I don't know whether it's an individual or a group purporting to be the hacker.
TalkTalk is a major telecommunications and internet provider that services millions of customers in the United Kingdom. The company found success in this market by undercutting its rivals at the expense of service quality and modern security systems. For a long time, this system worked. Until one teenager from a small town in southern Wales saw a perfect opportunity. Daniel Kelly was part of a private hacking group where members frequently tested their skills taking websites offline and exploiting security vulnerabilities to steal data, oftentimes demanding a ransom to restore the websites or return stolen information. TalkTalk became a target after Daniel discovered a weakness in the company's database. He came across a post on a hacking forum he moderated, highlighting a vulnerability in one of TalkTalk's subdomains, and theorized how a method called a SQL injection could be used to exploit it. Daniel, who usually only targeted small companies, saw this as an opportunity to take his hacking to a new level, and he created a plan to break into the company. Daniel grew up in a small town in southern Wales and spent most of his adolescence playing online games, his favorite being World of Warcraft. This game features a player-versus-player combat system that Daniel and his friends competed on the highest levels. It was at these ranks, however, opponents started using nefarious tactics to get ahead. Dan was frequently victim to DDoS attacks, where his opponents would overload his network by sending large amounts of data at once, causing Daniel to disconnect from the game and lose fights. Daniel decided he needed to learn how to carry out these attacks himself. Through his learning, he became active in many hacking forums and quickly expanded his skill set to be able to break into websites and deface them or steal data. He initially used his skills for good, participating in bug bounty programs for large companies like Microsoft, where he sent vulnerabilities he discovered to these companies for them to fix. But nearly all of these companies simply ignored his findings, disheartening Dan, so he publicized the vulnerabilities on the forums he frequented, many of which were filled with cybercriminals. It was at this point Dan became more daring in his exploits and was arrested for the first time after he disabled his school's network to get out of having to do in-class presentations. This didn't stop him, however, and he formed a group of hackers and continued to breach websites, but now taking it a step further and extorting the owners with the data the group had stolen. In early 2015, he went on a solo hacking spree, where he hacked and extorted over 30 websites in the span of just 3 months, the final one being TalkTalk. Harding and her company were sent into a frenzy and were forced to issue a statement regarding the attack. TalkTalk hired cybersecurity firms to manage the crisis and rushed to update their software. It's estimated that Daniel's attack caused the company over £77 million in damages. Daniel, however, only collected around £4,000 from his ransom, as very few people gave in to his demands.
We informed our customers as fast as we possibly could.
36 hours?
Well, 36 hours before we announced that we had been attacked, all I knew was that our websites were running slower and our web email system was running slower and that we were receiving an attack.
It took 36 hours before CEO Dido Harding alerted customers of the attack, leading to customer backlash and media outrage. TalkTalk lost over 100,000 subscribers as a direct result of the hack, at a total cost of around £45 million. Additional losses came from IT costs to fix their systems and from extra loads being put on call centers. These costs totaled around £32 million. TalkTalk was also fined a record of £400,000 by the UK's Information Commissioner's Office, stating that the company failed to implement the most basic cybersecurity measures. Daniel Kelly underestimated the size of TalkTalk and the consequences of hacking it.
And when I sent the extortion email, I remember refreshing a web page, and I could see a tab and it said breaking news, and it referenced the TalkTalk incident. And then I went into my living room, I turned on the TV, I turned on BBC, And as all I could see was breaking news. And
The hack started when Daniel came across a thread on a forum he moderated where a user shared a proof of concept of a vulnerability in one of TalkTalk's subdomains through what's called a SQL injection. A SQL injection is a type of cyber attack where an attacker inserts malicious SQL code into a query input field, such as a form on a website, in order to manipulate the database behind the application. This allows the attacker to gain unauthorized access to data, modify or delete data, and execute administrative operations on the database. Daniel, who was in the middle of his hacking spree, saw this as another easy opportunity to breach a website, and he shared it with another user who exploited the vulnerability. This user gave the data he collected to Daniel, who then sent extortion emails to Dido Harding, demanding hundreds of thousands of pounds in Bitcoin to not sell the data on the black market. As Harding did not give in, Daniel targeted individual customers through email addresses listed on their profiles, demanding smaller ransom amounts. But in the midst of the frenzy, 15-year-old Daniel received a phone call from his father, telling him to return home to his house in Wales. Upon arrival, he saw his street filled with police cars and officers stripping every electronic device out of his home. He was immediately arrested on the spot and transported to London. Daniel received 30 charges related to hacking and blackmailing, and after 4 years of legal proceedings, was sentenced to 4 years in one of London's toughest prisons. He was released in 2 years under good behavior and found himself flooded with job offers from top cybersecurity firms. Daniel was, however, put under extreme restrictions around computer and internet use, having to register every device he used with authorities and having all of his activity constantly monitored. Life outside of prison was just as restrictive as his prison life. Even something as trivial as signing up for a phone plan was complicated, as he was not allowed to use the service provider's electronic tablet to sign paperwork. Even something like the two-way radio used to place drive-through fast food orders was technically a breach of his restrictions and would send him back to prison. But Daniel had gotten away with all of his hacks until this one, because of an oversight as a result of his reckless hacking spree. A few weeks prior to the TalkTalk hack, Dan had carried out a similar attack targeting a small London-based firm, who reported the attack to the police. For this attack, he used a simple VPN to obfuscate his identity. He carried out the TalkTalk hack through the Tor network, making him completely anonymous. His error lied in the extortion emails he sent to both firms, which contained the same exact crypto wallet address, which police used to link the two attacks together. Since it was impossible to find the origin of the TalkTalk hack because Dan performed it over the Tor network, the police contacted the VPN provider Dan used in the smaller London-based attack. The VPN provider gave authorities traffic records coming from Dan's account, which they used to trace back to the TalkTalk hack. Dan now runs his own cybersecurity service and is active in the public cybersecurity domain. Dido Harding donated her 2015 bonus of £220,000 after the cyber attack and eventually stepped down from CEO a year and a half later. The company remained relatively stable, but was the target of a separate cyber attack in 2016. TalkTalk was later bought out by an investment firm and taken private. Despite Dan receiving virtually zero money from this attack, the fact that a teenager was able to cause so much harm to TalkTalk greatly degraded the trust of its customer base. Both Daniel Kelly and TalkTalk were greatly harmed as a result of this breach, but it shows the capabilities of anyone with a computer and internet connection, and the lack of capabilities of many major companies.